we starting with the extension problems first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we have another quiz this week too.
Oh, dang. Do we only have one more week left for this class?
Huh?
My thing only goes up to week 10 and we're on week 9, right?
No, we have 14.
Why is it only going up to 10? I thought...
I think she opens the rest of the material after like 1 week after the other.
No, because she put up, maybe she only put up the first 10 weeks or something, because I've had the first couple, I've had most of the weeks on for the entire time. I haven't really been paying attention to that, though, but I know I've had at least 9 on for a while.
And mine shows up to week 14 on my content.
Maybe, oh, I'm looking at the little thing on the right. Maybe it, oh, it does, I'm sorry, I was looking at the homepage thing. I wasn't looking at the actual content library. I guess the content, the little homepage thing only goes up to 10. I was confused for a second.
Alrighty, should we get started?
Yeah.
Alright. Alright, so it says solve the triangle with the given information. So we have an A side of 6.5, a B side of 7.9, and a C of 13.6. So if we draw a triangle and we label all those sides, so I put the hypotenuse as 13.6, and then I put like the second largest side of 7.9, and then another one of 6.5. And then to find the angles, so we have angle, so we have A, B, and then Y. So to find the angles, we use the, could we use the GHOA and then take the inverses of those ratios?
Let's try it. So just so we're doing the same side. So 13.6 is the hypotenuse, right?
Yeah.
And then are you going to do 7.9 as
B?
Opposite or as B? Okay. And 6.5 as A?
Yeah. So to find the biggest one, what we would do is we would have let's see here. We could do opposite. Oh no, it would be. Shoot. Which one do we want to do?
Let's do A first, because then we can do opposite over hypotenuse, which is sine.
Okay, so it'd be the sine of A equals 6.5 over 13.6. 6.5 divided by 13.6 gives us 0.477941175, and then we take the inverse sine of that to find the angle. And what I get for A is 28.6.
That's what I would get too.
Did anybody else get anything else? So I have A as 28.6 m. Right, and then to find B, we would do the same thing, right? But we would do 7.9
over 7.9 over 13.6.
Yeah. 7.9 divided by 13.6. So I get 0.5808823529.
Wait, what was it?
0.5808823529. That's what I got.
Oh, sorry, I just put it in as the inverse in my calculator.
So then I get for B, I got 35.5.
So you do cosine, right?
Oh, is it cosine?
Isn't because if you did 7.9 over 13.6, that's adjacent over hypotenuse. So cosine.
Of B, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes, you're right. My bad. 54.5.
I got, yeah, 54.5.
All right, and then we can add those two. So 28.6 plus 54.5. And then minus or subtract 180 from all. And I got the other angle as 96.9. Y.
That's what I got as well.
Okay, so let's check here. None of those are correct.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You. Well then.
All right. Any other ideas of how we would solve it?
So isn't it? I guess.
We do the law of sines or law of cosines?
So I guess since if this is a review for the chapter, because that's what the extension problems are saying, is so then we'd have to follow what we learned in the book or this chapter. So I'm gonna pull up the e-text real quick.
Okay.
So I guess the way you can solve a triangle using the side by side by side method. So I'm sure there's a certain way to do that. I don't think we did it the right way, or I guess my way was incorrect.
We did it away. I'm sure it would work. Maybe just not for this one.
Let's see here.
What chapters do these go? This test. Sorry, what chapters do these tests cover? That was hard.
I believe it was 8, or no, we're on chapter 10, aren't we? Let me see. It'll say here now. Maybe we can only, like the way that I was saying earlier, is the only way we can do that is only if it's a right triangle.
Oh, you're right. Yep.
Maybe that's why I didn't.
So yeah, it's only for right triangles. I remember that, and we don't know if it's right triangle.
Yeah. Let's see. So side by side by side. Where's that part at?
It's the law of sines. Be able to solve non-right triangles using the law of sines. Well, I just read that from the exam 3 resource, like preparation resource thing. So we have 3 sides, so we'll use the law of cosine because we have SSS.
So S. Oh yeah, that's right, because we can find that angle Or we can find a angle by using the sides.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So what we could do is
So it's
so which angle do we want to find first?
should try so it says in one of the examples it says use the longest side. So whatever is the longest side, that will equal
So y
C.
or b or no
C, right?
c?
C as in cat. Was in that 13.6?
Yeah. So we'd be trying to find the angle y. So
Yeah.
what law of cosines is it's c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2 ab cosine of y.
Yes.
And then all we'd have to do is just plug that all in.
Yes.
So we have 13.6 squared equals 6.5 squared plus 7.9 squared minus 2 times 6.5 times 7.9 cosine of y. So what I have, so when I simplify that out, I get down to 184.96 equals 104.66 minus 102.7 cosine of y. Did anybody else get the same?
I did something weird. Sorry, let me start over again.
What did you say you got?
When you simplify everything,
Yeah.
so I got 184.96 equals 104.66 minus 102.7 times cosine of y.
Okay. And then would you just try to get the cosine of y over alone on the right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I subtracted 104.66 to the other side, and then it simplifies that down to 80.3. So then you get 80.3 equals negative 120.7 cosine of y.
Wait, I thought it was 102.7.
Oh, that's what. Oh, I wrote it down wrong. Sorry, 102.7. That's what it is. Okay. And then you divide 80.3 by negative 102.7. And then you get like a negative long decimal. And then you have to take the inverse cosine of that whole decimal. And so what I get for y is 141.4.
That's what I got.
I get, and then I check the answer. So they're rounding to 2 decimal points. So it's 0.43. So we have y. So then we would still need, so we would need to do the law of cosines again for either B or A. So let's just do B, I guess.
Maybe the law of sines after that.
Yeah.
Oh, is that
Okay.
what
Yeah, we can do the law of sines once we find one angle.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay, I'm doing something weird because I keep getting a domain thing that's wrong. Okay, keep going.
How far are you getting, or where are you at?
I'm on the first one still. Sorry. Keep going though.
Oh, are you sure?
Mhm.
Okay. So then we would do here is law of sines. So then we could use 13.6 over sine of 141.43 equals, then we can find angle B. So 7.9 over sine of B, and then solve for sine of B. And then what I get for B is 21.23.
That's what I got.
All right, so that's what the B was. And then we can now find what A is if we subtract 180 minus Y and B. So then for A, I get 17.34,
That's what I get.
which is,
Yeah.
so we have all those angles. Did everybody follow that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So for this next one, we have an angle A of 39.6, C equals 18.4, and A is 3.7. So for this one, since we have an angle and a side that's congruent, or I mean not congruent, but they're opposite from each other, can we use law of sines to figure out, I guess,
Yeah,
angle?
because we have angle A and side A.
Okay. So what that would be, so it'd be 18, or no, it'd be 3.7 over the sine of 39.6 equals 18.4 over the sine of y. And solve for sine of y.
I got a error again. What is my?
Does it just say error, or does it like?
It goes to that domain where it's like go to or quit. Does
That's what I got too.
that mean it's not a real
Is it-
triangle?
Yeah, that it may just be it's not a real triangle.
Let me try it one more time since I'm special with the calculator tonight. Unless you're using it too. Okay, I got it again. So maybe
Yeah.
it's not a triangle since it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. Because that's the right. If we did a lot of sines and it doesn't give us that angle, then it can't be a triangle. So if we go and look, yeah, so it says it's not a triangle.
Oh, sweet, that was easy. Sure.
The only problem with those on the test is I have to make sure I'm not handy with the. Oh yeah, there's no triangle. No, you're just done with calculator. It's fine.
So everyone good with that one too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next one, so we have angle B or beta is 32.7 degrees. A is 37.5 and B is 38.6.
Should we try law signs again since we have angle B and side B?
Yeah, we can do that. So I guess we would find, do you want to find A or angle A since we have A?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we have, so it'd be 38.6 over sine of 32.7 equals 37.5 over sine of A.
Yes.
So for A, I get 31.66.
That's what I got.
Okay, so 31.66. And since we have that one, we can find what the other angle is. We subtract the other angles. So then what I get is 115.64 Y.
What I got.
Okay, so 115.64. And then now we can use the law of sines again to find that side of C. So we'll just do 38.6 over the sine of 32.7 again equals C over the sine of 115.64. And then for C, I get 64.4.
So isn't there something that says like if one side is like, that's almost twice the amount as the other one? There's something that says
What was
like
that?
if it can be considered like more than one triangle. Just not remembering correctly.
Maybe.
Oh.
I don't remember that personally, but
Okay, and determine the number of triangles. Okay. Oh. Sorry. I'm just reading this, but it doesn't really fit what I had. It says if sides and an angle are one or two triangles. Since one of the angles was 90, bigger than 90 degrees, it's obtuse. So if B is less than there are no triangles. If B is greater than C, there's one triangle, but it doesn't tell me if there's, but we have C and not A or B. So maybe not. Maybe I'm just smoking crack.
wait, can you say that one more time?
Just looking through I guess the homework, and it says, one of the questions says determine the number of triangles with the given parts.
Uh-huh.
That if we're given two sides and an angle, there may be 0, 1, or 2 triangles.
Okay.
But none of the examples gives us what situation that we have, where there could be more. But I swear if there was one that was like way bigger than the other ones, there was 2 triangles. So I'm trying to see if I can find another. Is it just asking us? Maybe they're just asking us for the C. I don't know. I don't look at the answer. Sorry.
Let me see.
I swear, like.
The answer says, so there's 2 triangles. So they have a
So
possible.
there's 2 triangles?
Yeah. So we have the, so it looks like we have the angles, right? It's just there's two other side possibilities.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Does this mean there's more than one triangle?
Yeah. So I have a note here. I guess I wrote it down somewhere when I was doing the homework. Is if A is greater than or equal to B, it's an acute, or it's acute, and there's one triangle. Oh, here we go. Okay, so if C is equal to H, there's one triangle. If H is less than C and C is less than B, then there's two triangles. If C is greater than or equal to B, there's one triangle.
But that doesn't make sense because C is 64.4, and that's greater than the B that was given at 38.6, but there's two triangles, you said?
So, yeah, so H less than C, less than B. If you write that out, if that helps at all.
But isn't C greater than B in this case?
C is greater than, yes.
So, but, and you said there'd be only one triangle, but then you said the answer said two triangles?
yeah. Freak.
That's okay. If we know there's two, we can figure this out. So, because then we just have to do the, if we know one side's 64.4 and then it has to be 180, we know the other side of the angle, right?
Yeah. So then, so C is going to be 150, no.
But, oh, now, oh, we already know the angle for that. Never mind.
Shoot. This is what's confusing me is when I'm looking at the answers, it gives us A, B, and Y angles. But so C stays the same side, but there's a,
So maybe we just, because those are all the sides that we need. It doesn't, and we just need to know if there's two triangles. So maybe we don't need to figure out the different angles, right?
well, here's the thing. So if you look on the answers, the two C's that the answer says they're the same.
Maybe they just wrote it down twice.
So it says 64.4 and then 64.41. So I don't get how that's two triangles. It looks like there's only just one.
Yeah.
So maybe she made a mistake on that. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, because that, I mean, 64.4 and then 64.41. 41 is just rounded out two decimal places then versus one.
Yeah. So that's what.
Okay. I feel good about that.
Yeah, I feel like that's a mistake on her part. Because if there would have been if there would have been two triangles, she would have given us the possible other angles. But there's only three on this one.
Have to figure it out. Technically, wouldn't, if you did two triangles, wouldn't one side be a 90-degree angle? Because you're going down from one.
Say that one more time. Sorry.
Like there's two triangles. If you went down from, like, say, angle C down to the 64.4, wouldn't that make it a right triangle? Figure it out because we already know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I was drawing this out. Like if you put a line down there, those are both right triangles, right?
Yeah, to find the height.
Yeah.
So
Oh, so maybe now we do that if we know the height. If C equals height, then there's one triangle, but if it's less than C, then there's two triangles. Maybe that's where that part is.
So are you saying we have to? So are you saying we should solve for the other one or no?
I'm wondering if that's how you know there's two triangles, because like, if you know the height, that's how you know.
Oh, okay. So I have written down here that sine of y equals h over b, and if you want to find the height, you just solve for h. So h turns out to be h equals b times sine of y.
Okay, so let's 38.6 divided by sine of 115.64. $42.81. So that's not equal to C, but it is less than what our C was, so that's where there's two triangles. Does that make sense? Like, because you said H is less than C equals that.
Yeah.
So that's 42.81 is less than 64.4. So there's two triangles.
But it's not less than b. Because
Oh, that's true.
b is 38.6. So 30 it would have to be greater than what did you say the answer was for height?
42.81.
Yeah, it would have to be greater than that, and it'd have to be greater than 64.41.
I don't know. Let's just move on.
Yeah, I don't know. That one's confusing to me. So the next one, so we're on number 2. So it says give 6 trigonometric ratios in simplified form for an angle A, given A equals 3 and B equals 7. So 6 trigonometric ratios would be like doing like the sine, and then
I think yeah, sine, cosine, tangent, and then the
secant, cosecant, and or cotangent. So we have A equals 3 and B equals 7. So we're for angle A. So would we have, so if we're given angle, so if we have angle A, and then we have side of A and B, or side of B, would we have the sine?
so
We're doing sine first, right?
without knowing the right now we just know
Oh yeah, we'd have to figure out
we only know opposite and adjacent, not
yeah, so we can, so to find the side C, we could use the Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah.
yeah.
So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So a squared, so 9 plus 49 equals 58. The square root of
50. I think that can go down smaller. So then that means, which is 3 over 50, square root of 58.
the sine of a is 3 over the square root of 58, right? Is that what you just said?
Oh.
Okay, whoops.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, and we have cosine of a, which would be adjacent over hypotenuse. So it'd be 7.
7 over square root of 58.
And then we have tangent of a, which is opposite over opposite. So it'd be 3 over 7, right?
Yes.
secant,
What do you call it at the CSC? What do you call that?
cosecant.
And that's just the inverse, so it'd be square root 58 over 3.
3.
And then
Um,
58 over
secant,
7.
secant is the inverse of cosine. So it'd be square root of 58
Yeah, so
over 7. And then cosecant would be the square root of 58 over 3. And then cotangent would be 7 over 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see here. So sine of A is 3 over square root of 58. Okay, that's right. Cosine is 7 over square root of 58. Tangent is 3 over 7. Okay. Secant is 58, square root of 58 over 7. Cosecant is 58 over 3. And cotangent is 7 over 3. We got that one.
Awesome. I always forget about that Pythagorean theorem or whatever.
Pythagorean theorem, yeah.
I mean, you learn. I learned that such a long time ago and never used it. Like I haven't used it in such a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so next one. So given W of vector -3, 2, and vector Z 5, 1, -1, find the following. Direction and magnitude of W. And then 3W plus 2Z, and then W and Z.
Oh, I just did the homework for this. So let me.
Yeah. So if we do the direction and magnitude of W, that should, so isn't it the absolute value equals A squared, no, yeah, square root of A squared plus B squared?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for W, so it'd be square root of -3 squared plus 2 squared. So then we get square root of 9 plus 4. And then we get square root of 13.
And that's it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to find the directions. But then we have to do the, what is it? The,
It doesn't say direct. Oh yeah, direction. Oh, direction.
wasn't that like the inverse sine or something like that? Or I can't remember.
I just did this. Why can't I remember?
Yeah, I just did this in homework too.
Oh, yeah. I think it's the inverse of negative. The inverse 2. Sorry. Oh my gosh. The inverse of sine of 2 divided by square root of 13.
Okay, because the equation is B divided by,
Oh, yeah, sine of b divided by the magnitude.
2.
So 2 divided by square root of 13, and then the inverse of it, and then round to 1 decimal. And then we have to figure out where where it terminates in what quadrant. And then based off of that, you would do like 180 minus.
Find the coterminal.
Yeah. Direction. Oh, -2, sorry. Nope. It's +2. I just wrote it wrong.
So then I get 146.
That's what I got.
And that's in quadrant 2, so we don't really have to do anything. I think it's. Oh wait, you do minus 180, right? Yeah, 146.3.
How do you know it's in quadrant 2 again?
Because it's 3, -3, 2. So x -3 and then y is 2. So it's in quadrant 2.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, and then, so the answer for that one, so it's square root of 13 and 146.31. Really rounded at one more place.
One more? Okay.
Alrighty. So then the next one is 3w plus 2z. So what you would do is you would multiply w, so each value by 3. Then you get the new w. So 3w ends up being -9, 6. And then you do the same thing to z, but you do it by 2. So then you get 10, -2. And then you add those together. So a1 plus b1. And then a2 plus b2. So that comes out to be 1, 4.
Yes. -4 though? Nope. Sorry. I wrote it down wrong and then I keep compounding the problem.
Here, let me see. Yeah, it's 1, 4. Okay. All right. And then, so w times z. So all it is you do a1 times b1 plus a2 times b2. So you get -3, which is -15, plus 2 times -1, which is -2. So -15 plus -2 ends up being -17.
Yes.
And yep, that's -17.
Cool.
Cool. Everybody follow with that one?
Yeah.
Alrighty. So find the component form of a vector given with the magnitude of 3.5 and the direction of 205 degrees. So if we're given a magnitude, so magnitude's the square, the absolute value of v, right?
Yeah.
And then the direction is 205 degrees. So this one, wasn't it just the magnitude times the cosine of 205? So the 3.5 times the cosine of 205 is the x.
Okay, so on the homework 13 it says you need to first find the terminal point. So where does 205 degrees lie, which is in quadrant 3, right?
Yes.
And then the horizontal component is a equals magnitude, absolute value of magnitude cosine theta, so the sine. So it'd be, so a would be 3.5 times cosine of 205.
So is that the x or the y of the vector?
That's the x.
Okay, so x was 3.5 cosine.
Cosine 205.
Okay.
And then y would be
Sine, right?
yes, sine of the same 205.
Okay, so 3.5 cosine of 205. So I got -3.17 for that one. And for the other one, I get -1.48. And those are the right answers.
So I got 2.
Nice.
It feels like we're just doing physics at this point.
Is this what physics is like?
Yeah, this is literally the beginning of physics.
Oh, fantastic. Then I have something to look forward to in the winter.
Well, like this is like the simplest form of physics. And then you get into like kinematic equations, and then it's not fun.
Okay, I don't need to hear it.
I'm glad I don't have to do physics.
So the next one, so graph all with all the parts. Oh gosh.
I hate graphs.
Right.
No, the worst is doing graphs on the homework.
Oh yeah.
I literally at this point I just skip those problems and take like a 95% on the homework because I just don't want to do it.
Same. All right. So with this one, so since it's a negative tangent, so we have reflected over the x-axis, right?
Yeah.
Reflected over.
It doesn't. I don't think it doesn't stretch or shrink.
No. And then so we have x minus pi over 3. Does that mean it shifts to the right?
Yeah, it shifts to the right pi 3 over 3, and then it goes up 2.
And then what's our period? How do we find period again?
Oh my gosh, that feels like forever ago. Uh-oh, I don't remember.
I don't remember that here. I'm gonna see.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So period is two pi divided by b. That sounds right, right?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's it.
So
2 pi.
divided by b. So our b is
6. Because then you times it by 3 pi and the pi's cancel out and it's just 2 times 3.
is the is it? I'm sorry. What was that again?
Oh, so period. So it's 2 pi divide, and then to take care of it, you do the times it by the inverse. So it'd be 3 over pi, and then the pi's cancel out, and it's 6.
Okay. 3 over pi 6.
So 2 pi divided by pi over 3 is the same as 2 pi times 3 over pi.
So it says our period is pi.
Okay.
So it wasn't pi. Or it wasn't.
Oh, b is not 3 over pi. That's 1, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Because b is whatever whatever x is with, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be 2 pi divided by, which turns out to be 2 pi. But
But why would they change? You said that they said the answer was just pi.
yeah,
How is that possible?
that's what I'm confused about. 2 pi. 2 pi divided by b. B is 1. Right?
It has to be 2 pi.
That's what. Yeah, that's what I would say. I would say it was 2 pi too. But
Let's just go to 2 pi and then was isn't tan like vertical instead of
yeah.
horizontal?
Here's 2 pi. So, but it shifts over pi over 3. So with tangent, we know that there are asymptotes.
Mm,
what was it? Asymptotes at pi over 2, right? Vertical asymptotes.
Yeah,
I don't remember any of this.
I think so.
I'm like trying to remember.
Antonio, do you remember?
I'm trying to look it up on the book.
Okay.
Tangent of pi divided by 2. Oh no, never mind. Tangent of pi.
Feels like a lot of problems today.
And we still have the group quiz. Do we want to do the group quiz today, or do we want to move
Yeah.
it?
It's up to you guys.
I have to work on an essay tonight too, and I was hoping to get started right after this. So can we do the group quiz Saturday?
As long as we did it early-ish, I'd be okay with that.
Like we've done before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
Okay.
be good.
I'd be cool with that if everybody else is.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
That will give us time to do the test too. I have 3 tests this week, so
Oh, that's rough.
yeah. I had a test on Tuesday and I totally failed it, and it was bad news there. So
No, I bombed my last econ test on Friday. It's I'm not having a
yeah.
good week this week with the scores.
Yeah, because okay, so tangent goes through, so it goes through 0, so it can go through 0, it can go through, or it went through 0, went through pi, and it went through 2 pi, but the asymptotes were at pi over 2.
They are at pi over 2.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
So, but since it's reflected, so it's not gonna go from the left side to the right side. It's gonna switch, so it's gonna come down from the left side to the right.
Okay.
So if it
So the asymptote still is at pi over 2. That
no,
does-
because it shifts over, so you have to add pi over 2 to the asymptote.
Okay.
So what that would mean, I may be wrong on the asymptote part. I wouldn't trust me on that. That's why.
I'm not sure, because I thought they no, it would have to shift with it, wouldn't it? Or are they always in the same spot?
Well, I know the asymptotes are going to shift over because the whole graph shifts over. I'm just trying to see what the original asymptotes were, because if we know what the original is, then we'll know for sure
What to shift them to?
Yeah. So yeah. So the original
Pi,
pi over 2.
So pi over 2, and then you do plus
So
pi
plus
over 3. So wouldn't that make that
you'd
pi
have to
over
make
6?
a common denominator. Yeah. So it'd be 5 pi over 6. And then you'd have to subtract, or then you would subtract you subtract pi over 3 from pi over 2. So then you get negative pi over 6.
Pi over negative pi over 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And those are the asymptotes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then since the original went to 0, or went through 0, 0, but we flipped it, So it went pi over 3. So that would mean it would go through pi over 3, but it went up 2. So 1 point would be pi over 3, 2, correct?
Yes. And
And then I would just sketch the graph from there. So at pi over 3, 2, that's where it bends.
so then, do we have to have points, or can we just graph it? Because we know it comes from the left down, and then it would hit the asymptotes, right?
Yes. Trying to remember how you can find the other points. I don't remember what y equals when, or no, what x equals when it's 1.
Is this something we could plug in the calculator? Find out what y would be?
So if I do tangent x, so if I grab that and I get a table, well, it only gives me it in decimals. Shoot. All right, well, let me pull up tangent real quick. All right, so tangent, so at 1, it's pi over 4. So we would do pi, so we need to do pi over 4 plus pi over 3, which would give us 3 and 4. So it'd be, so we get 3 pi over 12, and then 4 pi over 12. So that gives us 7 pi over 12.
7 pi over 12 for x, and then y would be 1.
Yes, and then negative 1, or no, 0. 0, no, we figured out what 0 was, right?
Yeah, we got 0, 1. Maybe let's try 2.
Oh, yeah. So 2. So I don't, the graph doesn't show a point for 2.
3.
3, I don't have a point for 3 either. Three would be, let me see if I can go back.
How many points do we have to have for the answer?
I didn't see on there. It just says graph with all the parts.
We have 2 points.
Let me see if I can find what the so at, oh, that doesn't help me. So when y equals 3,
So ready to get your calculator to change it from a decimal to like the pi.
That's what I wish there was. Well, well, I guess we can do this. So what's the difference between
So
So-
just negative tangent times 3 minus pi over 3 plus 2, and I got 1.9659. But I don't know what that is in.
so if we have 1 and 2, what is the x base between 1 and 2? So we had, what did we say? The 1 was pi over, or 2 was pi over 3, right?
Yeah.
And then 1 was 7 pi over 12. So if we find the distance between those two, then we can subtract from 7 pi over 12 to get, or no, from 3, right? Because it would have to be the same distance. Does that make sense of what I'm saying or no?
Yeah.
So this is 2. So 7 pi over 12. 4 pi over 12. So there's a total, or the difference between those two is 3 pi over 12. So if we did 4 pi over 12 minus 3 pi over 12, that gives us pi over 12 for our third coordinate.
For 3.
Yes. So pi over 12 is what we get for 3. As the y.
And then we probably need to know what range and domain, right?
Yes, so the range would be all real numbers.
Domain is, we need to put the asymptotes in. So x
the
small as
domain, right?
x doesn't equal,
The
was it
domain-
negative pi over 6?
Yeah.
And 5 pi over 6?
The domain,
Which, if we reduce that down, would just be pi over, no.
well, so since there's going to be multiple asymptotes, it would have to be a multiple. It would have to be a multiple of those. You remember?
Oh, yeah. So, like, didn't it do like pi times k or something?
Yeah, so it would be negative pi over 6 plus pi and then like the coefficient, so k. So it couldn't equal any of those values.
So you just write x as long as x is not equal.
The negative pi over 6 plus pi over k.
Okay.
And then range was all real numbers.
Did you check the answers already?
Let me see here. So period. So period was pi. I don't know why that is. That's dumb.
I think that's wrong, but whatever.
Stretch reflected over the x-axis. Shift right pi over 3. Up 2. Vertical asymptotes at 5 pi over 6. And then negative pi over 6. Domain is x cannot equal negative pi over 6 plus pi k. And then range is all real numbers with, it says with the important points of the 3 that we figured out.
Oh, okay.
So sweet. Got all those except the, whatchamacallit, the period, which doesn't make sense, but.
Yeah.
All right, so the next one. So y equals negative 2 sine 2x plus pi, and minus 1. So for this one, so we have a reflected over the x-axis. And then a stretch of 2. And then we have
Left pi. down 1. Period 2 pi over 2, which would just be pi. That one makes sense.
Well, we'd have to pull that 2 out of it, right?
So that 2 is b. So 2 pi over b would be 2 pi over 2.
Yeah, so the period.
You're right. You do have to pull it out. Sorry.
So the period would be pi, right?
Yeah, that didn't change, but that will change our shift to the left.
Yeah. But then when you pull the 2 out, so what it becomes is -2 sine of 2 parentheses x plus pi over 2 minus 1.
Yeah, so our left it's going to go left pi over 2.
Yeah, pi over 2 and then down 1. Alrighty, so we have a sine.
So that starts at 1, 0. Oh yeah, and then we're shifting down 1.
So, but it's reflected, so we got to remember that.
Oh yeah.
So we have, so down 1, so it becomes 0, 1 is the first point. And then since it,
I think so. Pi over 2 and 1 is going to be 1 point, right?
what was that? I'm sorry.
Pi over 2 and 1, -1. Isn't that 1 point?
Yes. Oh wait, no, sine starts at,
I think it starts at 0 because I think cosine starts at 1.
is that what it was?
Yeah, I think so. Sine starts at 0 and cosine starts at 1.
Okay, so it went down 1, but then it goes to the left pi over 2.
The period's just pi, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Down 1 over pi over 2. Well, so since there's a stretch by 2, that means the amplitude, or like the maximum and the minimum, went up to 2 and -2, right?
Yeah. So it can go up to +1 and down to -3.
Okay. What was that? Okay, so we have all those points, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when we were, what else do we have to find out?
I think
Domain.
the range. So domain is all real numbers and ranges -3 to 1.
Yeah. Alrighty, so
You said -3, right? That's
Yeah, -3.
okay. Just making sure.
the period is pi reflected over the x-axis, stretched by 2,
Shift left, pi over 2.
down 1. Domain all real numbers. Range is -3, 1. Cool. Alrighty, so next one. This one was convert the following rectangular to polar and polar to rectangular.
Oh, I just started doing these on the homework.
Yeah, I think I remember most of these.
These things are annoying.
Yeah, I mean they're annoying.
Oh, okay, so it's just x equals r cosine of the angle. So first one would be 4 sine of 5, -5. Wait.
No, it's
Kidding. That was-
Oh, we skipped one.
Oh, find cosine. Oh yeah, I see 6.
Yeah, so find cosine theta, given that sine theta is 1/4 and theta is in the second quadrant.
That would just.
So if sine of theta is 1/4, does anyone know how to solve these ones?
No. Wait, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to solve it out and see if my logic makes sense.
I don't think I've done one of these yet in the homework problems. Because 1/4 isn't on the unit circle, even though we know. Because if it's in the second quadrant, then we need to find.
Well, so wouldn't you just do? So if you're given sine theta of 1/4, couldn't you just take the inverse sine of that to find what the angle is?
Yes, I think you're right. No.
But then if it's in the
14.47.
yeah, but if it's in the second quadrant, it'd have to be more than 90 degrees, right? So would you add 90 to that?
Or would you subtract it from 180 and get 165.52? Is that an angle? 165?
165 is not an angle. I'm stuck on this one.
Maybe let's try 90 plus 1 point. That's 104. It's still not one of the unit circle. Because it has to be on the unit circle, right? Maybe it doesn't.
Why would it be sine of So what crap? What I'm thinking maybe. So what's the angle? What angle is sine? Or sine of what angle is 1/2?
150 in quadrant 2.
So if you did 150. Because if you did if sine of 150 is 1/2, then the sine, wouldn't it just be half of that would be 1/4? So you just cut it in half. That's what I'm not understanding.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Unless you're looking at it sine of 1/4 of that quadrant, that would be 150. Because it cuts it into 4 pieces.
Yeah, that would make sense, right?
And that would just make the cosine the negative square root of 3/2. I don't know if that would work in all cases.
For this case, I think it works.
Yeah, because the cosine of theta, it says, is -3 pi/2. So cosine of 150 is -3 pi/2. Well, that's what I don't get.
How we're getting that.
Yeah.
Has anybody come across this in homework? Is this like a recent homework?
No, this was like a while ago.
Yeah, I haven't. This is like unit 2 weeks ago homework. Mm-hmm.
I don't remember this at all then. Does someone still have the text up already?
Yeah, I do. I'm gonna pull it up here and see if there's any example like that.
Sorry, I'm gonna be right back, okay?
Okay.
I have to go here real soon at 9:30, so.
Honestly, we'll probably just skip this one too. Because this one is getting like on a personal level. Yeah, so we'll just skip this one. Okay. Let's see if Monique comes back. Do you know Antonio at all?
I'm trying to check different ways, but I'm not getting what they're showing there.
Okay.
Now let's just do 7 and 8.
Okay, so it says convert the following rectangular to polar and polar to rectangular. So we're given 4, 5. So we turn that into a polar. Okay, so all we know, so looking at from the last group thing that we had, so we have x equals r cosine equals r cosine of theta, and then y equals r sine of theta. Or it says given x and y, then r squared equals x squared plus y squared, or r equals square root of x squared plus y squared.
So this we're just solving for x and y. And x, so x in this is
So yeah, so if we're given x and y, we would just use the r equals square root of x squared plus y squared, right?
yeah.
So what it would be r equals 4 squared plus negative 5 squared. So that's 16 plus 25. 16 plus 25 equals 41. So that comes out to be a square root of 41. And then we have to, didn't we have to find the angle or something like that?
Yeah.
It wouldn't just be, let me see. So, so what it also gives us as well is that tangent theta equals y over x. So if we did tangent theta of y over x, so negative 5 over 4. So I did the inverse tangent because you need to do the inverse to find the angle. So that gave me negative 51.34. But since it's a negative angle, that would be the coterminal. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to do 360 minus that 51.34019.175.
Okay.
Gives us the angle of 308 degrees, 308.66 degrees.
And that's theta, or is the
Yeah, that's what theta ends up to be.
okay? And so we just gotta do.
I think that's it, right?
I think we gotta solve for r as well because we have x and y.
Well, r is the square root of 41.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
We did 4 squared plus negative 5 squared.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. We check it. Yeah. So
Yep.
square root of 41 and 308.66 degrees. Okay. All right. So then the next one, we're given 140 degrees. So this one, so x, so we would use the x and y one, right, of r cosine theta and r sine theta.
Yeah.
So for x, we would do 5 cosine of 140.
Sorry, guys.
No worries. Which is negative 3.83. and then we do the sine one, so it'd be 5 sine of 140.
Which would be
Positive.
3.21.
Yes, and those are the answers.
Sweet.
So Monique, just to go over, so the first one we did,
Uh-huh.
so the first one was 4 and negative 5. So what you had to do is use so we went back to the old hangout and used the formulas that we were given. So if you're given x and y, you can find r by doing r equals the square root of x squared plus y squared.
Okay.
We did those, and we got r equals the square root of 41.
Okay.
And also, you have to find the angle of it too. So what it also gives us is tangent theta is y over x. So if you do the tangent inverse of y over x, it gave you a negative angle. Since it gave you a negative angle, we did the 360 minus that angle to get the coterminal angle.
Okay.
So just to catch you up on that one. And then this one, we just did the x equals r cosine of theta, and then the r sine of theta.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so the next one, so if we're given r equals 5 cosine of theta,
What you doing?
so we had that. So they gave us an example like this in the old Hangout. So what they did is they multiplied r to both sides so that they can get that r cosine of theta and substitute it. So what they ended up doing is they came up with r squared, or it comes out to r squared equals 5r cosine of theta. And then substitute that r cosine of theta for x. And then they substituted the r squared as well. So what it substitutes out to be is x squared plus y squared equals 5x. Then, so what you'd have to do is you'd have to minus the 5x to the other side. Then you get x squared minus 5x plus y squared equals 0. And then you would have to do the complete the square.
Oh, yeah.
In that one form, or to get it in the circular form. So what it comes out to be is how do you complete the square again? It's the absolute value of b, right? And then it's squared.
Yes. There's you got this. So it's x squared minus 5x plus y squared, right?
X squared minus 5x plus y squared equals 0. Yes.
Okay. I know I need to complete the square, and I can't remember how to do that. I think you have to do.
Okay, so it's b divided by 2, and then you square it.
Okay. So 5 divided by 2 is 25 over 4.
Yes. So what it'd be is b. So it's x squared minus 5x, and then plus 25 over 4, right?
And then minus outside the parentheses, and then you move that over to the other side.
Yes. And then what it comes down to be is x squared minus 5x plus 25 over 4 plus y squared equals 25 over 4, right?
Yes.
And then we break the first part down. So what you get is x minus
5 halves.
5 halves, parentheses squared. Y squared equals 25 over 4.
Yes. That's what I would got.
And
That's the correct answer, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
nice.
Sweet.
That wasn't too bad.
Okay. Well, I really have to go. I'm already running 5 minutes late.
Okay.
Okay. So
Um,
Saturday at 10.
Saturday at 10. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Yeah.
Bye.
Alrighty. So the next one is y equals negative 3x plus 5. So I believe we did one like this last night or the other night.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's one that has like the sine and cosine on the bottom, right?
so if I remember correctly, so if we're given x and y, we just substitute x and y for the sine and the cosine. So what it comes, so we substitute y for, what was it? R, y is sine, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Y
So
sine.
so it'd be r sine of theta equals negative 3
Cosine.
cosine of theta plus 5. Or it'd be negative 3r, right?
Yeah, negative 3r cosine theta.
Plus 5. And then we need to get the cosine back to the other side so we can get the r's out. So we get r sine of theta plus 3r cosine of theta equals 5. And then we pull out the r's. So r's parentheses sine of theta plus 3 cosine of theta equals 5. And then divide that whole thing onto the other side.
So 5 divided by sine of theta plus 3 cosine of theta, because it's negative, right?
Yeah, so it was r equals 5 over sine theta plus 3 cosine of theta, which is what the answer is.
Okay. That's not bad.
No?
On Tuesday, I was so confused over those.
Yeah.
I just was like, okay.
Alrighty, so this one is, so 2, or cosine of 2 inverse sine of 3 square root of 3 over 2. It says solve this without a calculator.
Seriously?
So if we were to do this without a calculator, so what we could do is, I guess what I would do to make it simpler is if I would do the cosine, change the inverse sign to 1 over sine,
Okay.
and then flip the reciprocal of that.
So it'd be 2 over square root of 3? Is that what you're saying?
So it would be 1. So it'd be 1 over sine of square root of 3 over 2 still.
Oh, okay.
Once we find the sine of that, it would just be 1 divided by that, and then we would just find the reciprocal of that. That makes sense.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So if we do that, so all we'd have to do is find out what the sine is of 3 pi over 2. So the sine of 3 pi over 2, we can use a unit circle then, right?
Yeah.
So the sine of 3 pi over 2 is pi over 3, right?
Pi over 3, yeah.
Because we're in the first quadrant, right? That's the only one we're working with.
Mhm.
Okay. So then that would turn out. Oh, is that not right? Or
Sorry, what did you say?
what were you saying?
Sorry, I was just looking up the unit circle.
Oh, I would think it would just be in the first quadrant because that's just what we're looking at.
Yeah,
Right.
so sine, it would be, okay, so sine of square root of 3 over 2, the cosine would be 1/2.
So we need to find the sine of square root of 3 over 2 first. Because that's what we had. So we had the inverse sine. Well, what we did is we changed that to 1 over sine of square root of 3 over 2.
Okay.
So the sine of 3 square root of 3 over 2 is pi over 3, correct?
Yes.
So what that means is that we have 1 over pi over 3, which ultimately changes into 3 over pi.
Okay.
So then what we get is 2 times 3 over pi. And then that comes down to
Oh.
6
pi.
the cosine of 6 over pi.
Okay. And then we have to switch them, right? To make it the inverse, so pi over 6. Or, sorry, I think I got confused.
No, I don't think we'd switch them.
So 6 pi would be that answer then.
Yeah, well, it'd be cosine of 6 pi, and then we'd have to figure out what that is. So we need to change it into... When you change it into something.
Like, so on the unit circle, there's a pi over 6, but I don't see a 6 over pi.
Well, I guess if you did the inverse of pi over 6, it would just be... No, it'd be negative 6 over pi, so that wouldn't work, right? Or yes, no. Yes, no. Maybe I'm just making this too complicated. I always tend to do that. Antonio, you have any steps on how to do this?
I was actually kind of curious if you switch that negative, you know how it started with sine or inverse sine, do you have to by any chance change the cosine as well, or does that not matter at all?
No, because it's outside of the parentheses.
Okay.
I think we're making it harder than it needs to be, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think I may have probably messed up something.
Excuse me.
Yeah, let's start over again.
Yeah. Could we start by timesing 2 by the square root of 3 over 2? Would that, I guess that wouldn't, because yeah, it's the sine of that times 2.
Well, okay, so if we have the inverse sine of 3 pi over 2, wouldn't we just need to look on the coterminal side?
I think
Or not the coterminal, but the opposite side?
Yeah, so that would mean, so I mean, it's still 3, square root of 3 over 2, just on the terminal side, but that makes cosine negative 1/2.
Yes. Wait. I understand what you're saying, but I'm trying to follow it again. So.
Oh, because sine of square root of 3 over 2 is the same on, but you're saying the terminal side, so we were in quadrant 1, but the other side on quadrant 2 would still be square root of 3 over 2, but cosine is negative 1/2.
Yeah. Maybe that's how you do it. That's what I was thinking. But we have 2 of that. So we have to multiply by 2, right?
Yeah, so would we just move through the quadrants then? I think we're making it harder than.
I think so too, but
But where are we missing it?
I think it's just that 2 that's throwing us off because we got everything else. It's just now that.
Cheat, since it's not a quiz. Let's see if I can find something.
Okay, so let me see here.
Okay. Okay, so this is just an example. So I'm going to read it and then see if we can follow along with what we actually have, okay? Because I can't flip between the two. So it says, first focus on the inverse sine of square root 3/2. This is another way of asking for what angle is equal to that. So,
Yeah, 60, right?
Go back to the unit circle. Word. I'm dying. Pi over 3, right? Is what. So, yeah. And then. So it's saying recall that sine over that equals square root of 3. So since the arc sine are inverse functions, so square root 3/2 is equal to pi over 3. And then substitute this into the original equation. So it would be cosine 2 times square pi over 3.
Oh. I get what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Because I was reading it in the textbook too. So what it was saying is like, for an example, so it was saying sine pi over 6 equals 1/2. So if you have the sine inverse of 1/2, it equals pi over 6. So that they just switch.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, so then you were right. So then the inverse of this would just be pi over 3.
Uh-huh. And then we times that by 2. And then the cosine of that, so it'd be 2 pi over 3. So then the cosine of 2 pi over 3 is negative 1/2.
Exactly. And that's what the answer is, right?
Oh, I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, it's negative 1/2.
So we just have to find that part, and then that's equal to it, times it by 2, and then the cosine of that number.
Yeah, so when they give you the negative, or when they give you the negative sign of that fraction, you just have to find the radian that's equivalent to it, and then continue on from there.
Okay.
So yeah, so if you had like the sine, so if they did the sine of pi over 3, it would be
switch it
over 2, yeah.
To the number or whatever.
Yeah. So okay, yeah, that makes sense then.
Okay. Was that the last one?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll turn in the points and the thing again.
Okay. And we are planning on Saturday morning, correct? Again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll try to do all the homework and stuff, so we don't have to take forever doing it.
Right. We have a test too, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gotta do that too. So fun weekend.
Yes, full of fun.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna stop. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah.